Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is a Friday, January 22nd, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. Gratefully able to announce that these tools are available absolutely free at whyagain.org. If you go to that page and click on the red and white bullseye or the link in the upper left-hand corner of most pages that says Start Here, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. That book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? That chapter of that book is a narrative description of the primary tool in this work, the Reality Management Worksheet. It's a tool I've been using for a lot of years now, over 16 at least, to improve the quality of my life, to learn to use, and then begin to use on a regular basis any negative emotion that I experience as a directive, as a compass, as a Geiger counter, as an alarm system, to direct me inside myself to begin exploring and then dismantling the roots of that negative emotion that are always residing within me. Also on that page, you can download the actual worksheet process itself. Just a simple click on a PDF file, download it, print it off as often as you'd like, and use it over and over again. You can also download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one, where people have called in with real problems and been stepped through the worksheet process, so those audio files can serve as a tutorial for this tool. You can also download at your app store a completely free and private app that contains that tool. It also contains an abbreviated version of that tool, and it contains a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. And if you do that, when we encourage people to do that soon and often, then you can call us for support, call us for clarification, call us for tweaking the benefits you get from that tool, or call us with testimonials or refutations if you don't believe this is a useful tool, or if you think you've got a reason to believe that there's a flaw in it. We are here to offer support 5 days a week in our current format, 2 hours a day, and the call-in number for that is 563-999-3581. If you call that number and press 1, it will put a little question mark by your phone number, and I'll announce you by your area code. So we're sitting here on a Friday, and we're doing the Course in Miracles lessons this year, and so we've made the commitment to read the next 3. So one for today, one for Saturday, and one for Sunday. Discuss them a little bit and talk about Pam Grout's take on each lesson to give a slightly different perspective. Today's lesson says, what I see is a form of vengeance. The commentary about this lesson is, today's idea accurately describes the way anyone who holds attack thoughts in his mind must see the world. So if I have attack thoughts in my mind at any level, which it's probably fairly safe to say every human being on the planet does, then what I see is a form of vengeance. Having projected his anger onto the world, he sees vengeance about to strike at him. His own attack is thus perceived as self-defense. This becomes an increasingly vicious circle until he is willing to change how he sees. Otherwise, thoughts of attack and counterattack will preoccupy him and people his entire world. I would read that as, and populate his entire world, and be the constructs he uses through which to view his entire world. If this happens, there is no peace of mind possible for him. It is from this savage fantasy that we want to escape. Is it not joyous news to hear that this is not real? Is it not a happy discovery to find that you can escape? You made the very thing you would destroy. Everything that you hate and would attack and kill. You made it with your perception. All that you fear does not exist. Look at the world about you for at least 5 times a day, for at least a minute each time. As your eyes move slowly from one object to another, from one body to another, say to yourself, I see only the perishable. I see nothing that will last. What I see is not real. What I see is a form of vengeance. At the end of each practice period, ask yourself, is this the world I really want to see? Is this the world I really want to see? In Pam Grout's book, The Course in Miracles Experiment, her 22nd chapter is titled, No Longer Using My Thoughts to Attack Myself. She quotes Cheryl Richardson as saying, if beating ourselves up worked, we'd all be thin, rich, and happy by now. Pam writes, my friend Anita Morjani wrote an amazing book called Dying to Be Me. It's about her 4-year bout with cancer and the near-death experience that completely revolutionized her ideas about life and death. Not long after returning from the other side and quickly healing from the stage 4 lymphoma that had ravaged her body, she got out of bed, remarkable since she'd been unable to walk for months before that. She shuffled into the bathroom and nearly fell over in shock when she saw her withered frame staring back at her in the mirror. She looked herself straight in the eye and made this solemn vow. I will never do this to you again. Until she got cancer, Anita says she was afraid of everything. Like so many of us, she was a people pleaser. She worked hard to be liked, to be a good person, to be spiritual, to be a good employee. She tried to eat right. She says she worried constantly about microwaves, plastic containers, red meat, getting, you guessed it, cancer. In other words, she was the poster child for Lesson 22. What I see is a form of vengeance. At first read, this sounds pretty harsh. But when I hear stories like Anita's, or even pay attention to the running commentary in my own head, I realize how vengeful I often am, especially in my judgments of myself. I would never dream of speaking to anyone the way I often speak to myself. This lesson also celebrates the joyous news that my countless fears and critical thoughts are not real. I learned there's an escape. 5 times a day I look around and acknowledge that all I fear does not exist. Anita had to die and go to what we call heaven to realize this precious truth. I get to do it today by simply asking for help to see my life differently. Tomorrow's lesson for those who want to work through the weekend. Lesson 23. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. The commentary reads as follows. The idea for today contains the only way out of fear that will ever exceed. Nothing else will work. Everything else is meaningless. But this way cannot fail. Guaranteed success. Every thought you have makes up some segment of the world you see. It is with your thoughts that we must work, if your perception of the world is to be changed. If the cause of the world you see is attack thoughts, you must learn that it is these thoughts which you do not want. There is no point in lamenting the world. There is no point in trying to change the world. It is incapable of change because it is merely an effect. But there is indeed a point in changing your thoughts about the world. Here, you are changing the cause, and the effect will change automatically. The world you see is a vengeful world, and everything in it is a symbol of vengeance. Each of your perceptions of external reality is a pictorial representation of your own attack thoughts. One can well ask if this can be called seeing. In an earlier lesson, we're told what we call seeing is really image production. We're creating our own images of the world. Is not fantasy a better word for such a process, and hallucination a more appropriate term for the result? You see the world that you have made, but you do not see yourself as the maker, the image maker of that world. You cannot be saved from the world, but you can escape from its cause. What's the cause? Your thoughts, your attack thoughts are the cause of the world you see. This is what salvation means. For where is the world you see when its cause is gone? It's gone. Vision already holds a replacement for everything you think you see right now. Loveliness can light your images and so transform them that you will love them even though they were made of hate, for you will not be making them alone. The idea for today introduces a thought that you are not trapped in the world you see because its cause, which are your thoughts, can be changed. This change requires first that the cause be identified and then let go so it can be replaced. The first two steps in the process require your cooperation. The final one does not. Your images have already been replaced. By taking the first two steps, you will see this is so. Besides using it throughout the day as the need arises, 5 practice periods are required in applying today's idea. As you look around, repeat the idea slowly to yourself at first, then close your eyes and devote about a minute to searching your mind for as many attack thoughts as occur to you. As each one crosses your mind, say, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts about my coworker, my car, my career, my body. Hold each attack thought in mind as you say this, and then dismiss that thought and go on to the next. In the practice periods, be sure to include both your thoughts of attacking and of being attacked. Their effects are exactly the same because they are exactly the same. You do not recognize this yet, and you're asked at this time only to treat them as the same in today's practice periods. We're still at the stage of identifying the cause of the world you see. When you finally learn that thoughts of attack and being attacked are not different, you will be ready to let the cause go. Pam Grout in the Course in Miracles Experiment 23rd chapter writes, titled, "It's You, Boo." Morpheus from the Matrix is quoted as saying, "There's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path." Pam writes, Lesson 23 may be the best news yet. It offers the secret key to the ocean of love that all these spiritual practices keep promising. It offers escape from the closed psychological structures that cause our pain and our problems. It says, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. This lesson succinctly explains that cause and effect is the organizing principle of the universe. It says point blank, there is no point in lamenting the world. There is no point in trying to change it. The world is merely an effect of my thoughts. Now that's worth repeating. My thoughts and beliefs about the world are its cause. In quantum physics, it's called the observer effect. So, while there's no point in fighting to change the world, there is huge benefit in changing my thoughts. That's why this workbook's daily lesson is so important. That's why Morpheus said there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. Like it or not, I am the image maker of the world. This is shout it from the rooftop groovy, because all I have to do is change my thoughts and beliefs. Once I do, the world changes automatically. Beautiful experiences rise up, joy, beauty, love, and peace show up. It's also worth mentioning that despite what self-help books and therapy sessions preach, changing my thoughts and beliefs is a simple matter of asking for help. The voice that wouldn't stop pestering Helen Schuckman is also eager to communicate with me and with you. It's a weekend, so there's a Saturday and then a Sunday. Sunday's lesson, lesson 24, reads, I do not perceive my own best interests. The commentary reads, in no situation that arises do you realize the outcome that would make you happy. Therefore, you have no guide to appropriate action and no way of judging the result. What you do is determined by your perception of the situation, and that perception is wrong. It is inevitable then that you will not serve your own best interests. Yet they are your only goal in any situation which is correctly perceived. Otherwise, you will not recognize what they are. If you realize that you do not perceive your own best interests, you could be taught what they are. But that's a big if, because currently I do not perceive my own best interests. That's the title of the lesson. If I could recognize that I don't perceive my own best interests, then I open the space where I might be taught. But as long as I think I know, no learning can be acquired. In the presence of your conviction that you know what they are, you cannot learn. The idea for today is a step toward opening your mind so that learning can begin. The exercises for today require much more honesty than you're accustomed to using. Few subjects honestly and carefully considered in each of the 5 practice periods. Just a few subjects honestly and carefully considered in each of the 5 practice periods which should be undertaken today will be more helpful than a more cursory examination of a larger number. So honestly and carefully examine these subjects. 2 minutes are suggested for each of the mind-searching periods. The practice period should begin with repeating today's idea, followed by searching the mind. I do not perceive my own best interests in this situation. Searching your mind for unresolved situations about which you are currently concerned. The emphasis should be on uncovering the outcome you want. You will quickly realize that you have a number of goals in mind as part of the desired outcome, and also that these goals are on different levels and they often conflict. In applying the idea for today, name each situation that occurs to you, and then enumerate carefully as many goals as possible that you would like to be met in this resolution. The form of each application should be roughly as follows. In the situation involving blank, I would like to happen and blank to happen. So in the situation of involving Larry, I would like him to resign, and I would like myself to be promoted, and so on. Try to cover as many different situations of outcomes as may honestly occur to you, even if some of them do not appear to be directly related to the situation or even to be inherent in it at all. If these exercises are done properly, you will quickly recognize that you are making a large number of demands on the situation which have nothing to do with it. You will also recognize that many of your goals are contradictory, that you have no unified outcome in mind, and that you must experience disappointment in connection with some of your goals, however the situation turns out. After covering the list of as many hoped-for goals as possible for each unresolved situation that occurs in your mind, say to yourself, I do not perceive my own best interests in this situation. Lesson 24. I do not perceive my own best interests. Pam Grout, Course in Miracles Experiment, Chapter 24, titled, Hire the Stunt Double. She quotes Jerry Colonna, who says, put down the script. You don't have to be an actor in that drama anymore. Pam writes, the brain is basically a bureaucrat. It looks at the past, applies it to the present, and uses it as a map to predict the future. It literally makes up stories. In Lesson 24, I do not perceive my own best interests. It points out that in no situation is my perception accurate. How can I accurately decide on the best course of action when my brain distorts reality? Today, in 2 5-minute practice periods, I'm asked to honestly search my mind, to examine various situations, and enumerate all the things I want to happen. It quickly becomes apparent that I'm placing demands that have nothing to do with the situation, and that many of these intentions are contradictory. Having no unified outcome is a setup for disappointment. This is why today is a good time to re-emphasize the benefits of practicing the course. I don't go through these lessons to be, quote, more spiritual, close quotes, or to win brownie points with God or the Creator or the dude. I do it solely because I can use the help. When Matt Damon reprised his role as Jason Bourne in the 5th installment of the popular movie series, he was 9 years older than the last time he played the titular character. Although he was still able to perform the fight scenes, he conceded to let a stunt double jump out of helicopters and madly speed through the streets of Berlin. All of us have a stunt double, an inner voice that this course calls the Holy Spirit. And unlike our brains, it always knows the best course of action. This voice is not just available for Helen Schuckman or Eckhart Tolle, or for that matter, Matt Damon, who must have been listening to his voice when he dropped out of Harvard to pursue acting. The voice is available to each and every one of us, and it always knows how to transcend ordinary experience and identify with the bigger part of ourselves. Moral of this lesson: fire your brain and hire your stunt double. So I'll take a breath. Thanks for sticking around for 3 full lessons. Give us a call. Questions, comments, answers, soliloquies, 563-999-3581. If you call that number and press 1, we can have a conversation. Is this Ellen?
Yes, it is. Can you hear me?
Welcome, Ellen.
Oh,
I hear you.
Thank you. Okay, great. I just wanted to give my experience with this lesson for today, because when I first read it, I was not very happy with it. And I immediately, before I even did the application of it, I looked at a picture I had in my room of Mother Mary, and I said, how can I look at that and say what I'm seeing is a form of vengeance? That just did not feel right to me at all. And then as I sat there and thought about it, I realized, okay, well, I'm not really seeing Mother Mary in that picture. It's just a symbol of her. But when I look at the picture and I talk to her, I'm not talking to the picture. I'm talking to her spirit, which is obviously not the picture itself. But I was still really bothered by this, and I remembered the Course saying, doesn't matter if you believe or you agree with the lessons, you're just asked to do them. So, excuse me, I have to let my cat in the door. So I started doing the lesson, and as I was repeating what it asked us to repeat, as I was looking around the different objects in my room, my eyes started, naturally going to all different types of objects. My eyes started lighting on a few objects that were in a state of deterioration. And that's when I had kind of like an aha moment, and I understood why it is so important for us not to believe that form is real. Because no matter what the form is, it's always going to at some point deteriorate. And if we are invested in that form and believing that that form is somehow valuable, we're going to be very disappointed when that form starts to decay or deteriorate. And I thought about my own body, and, now I'm at that stage of life where, yes, my body is clearly deteriorating. And even if I can say, oh, well, we all have to accept that, that's a natural process of our life. The body at some point starts to deteriorate, and then it eventually dies. So we're forced to accept it, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't bother us. Every time, you do something and it's harder to do it now, it's like, there it is, that thought of, my body is not as good as it used to be. But if you truly understood that the body is not real, then there is the relief. Wow, doesn't matter. I'm not the body. It doesn't matter. And so I really started getting the point and seeing in everything, even the things that we think are, beautiful at the moment. Let's say it's a flower in full bloom, and I delight in the form of a flower. And I'm a big gardener, and I grow a lot of different types of flowers, and I love the various forms and colors, and then after they stop blooming and they start dying, it's always very disappointing. But the thing is, it's the true beauty of the flower is never really in the form. I think obviously it's in the spirit, and if we can just know that and not invest ourselves in the form. And I started doing this with when I would see like a dead bird or other animal in my yard, and it used to really bother me. And then I started catching myself and saying, well, wait a minute, I'm not looking at a dead bird. I'm looking at an empty shell. The spirit of the bird is still fully alive. The bird didn't die. The bird simply transitioned into a different form. It just has a different form now, but the spirit is the same as it ever will be and always will be. And I found that so helpful to recognize that, because otherwise it bothers me. And so that's what I see the point, for me anyway, of this lesson, is to be able to get myself out of that, that where I'm always disturbed by things that don't appear perfect to me, in perfect condition, in perfect order, and to recognize that that's just the form, and the form is never real. In fact, what I realized was that the moment any form is born, it starts the process of aging and deterioration, even if it may look perfect at the very onset. So you buy a brand new car, it looks perfect, but soon enough it's going to get a scratch or a ding or a dent, and what do we naturally feel? Oh, this feeling of depression, or maybe anger, or someone opened their car door into my car, and that's just the nature of form. It isn't real. It isn't real. We take it seriously.
Well, and furthermore, the nature of it is completely separate from what we create. Now, several times, while the bulk of what you're saying I agree with, it's part of this flow, several times you've made statements about things that bother you. And in this work, and in the course, it's calling us to understand this thing isn't bothering me. The hallucination I'm creating, the attack thought I'm creating about this thing is generating the upset I feel and blaming on this thing or my image of it.
Right.
So if I could see it accurately, I would see what you're talking about, that the spirit of the bird goes on after the body falls away. I would see this magnificent flow of creative energy rather than the things that I label and try to hold on to, or I label and try to push away. And if I could see how my attack thoughts are most often directed against myself. There's a Brain Pickings article about our negative self-talk. One of the quotes is that Freud termed this droll internal critic the superego, and Phillips suggests that we are continually, if unconsciously, mutilating and deforming our own character. Indeed, this is so unrelenting, this internal violence, that we have no idea what we would be like without it. We know virtually nothing about ourselves because we're constantly judging ourselves before we have a chance to see ourselves. We're judging ourselves almost as though in a panic. And Michael Singer talks about this in his book, The Untethered Soul. He said, if you could have a transcript of your own negative internal self-talk and hand that transcript to a friend, one of your best friends, and hired them to follow you around and just read it to you all day, you'd throw them out of your life before noon. You wouldn't tolerate anyone talking to you the same way you speak negatively to yourself, judging yourself harshly for your appearance, for your judgment, for your choices, for your failures. And that's attack thoughts. That's what this lesson's about at its core.
Right, right. And I just happened to read something on Leonard Jacobson's website last night about like when you recognize one of those thoughts, just to recognize, okay, well, that is exactly what, that's, to accept it lightheartedly and recognize, oh, like there she goes again, saying that thought to herself, and recognize it's just a thought. It's just a thought, and I don't have to take it seriously. I certainly do not need to believe this thought, but not to get down on myself about, oh, look what I'm doing to myself. But just to recognize it's nothing. It's nothing. And not to judge the judger, which is what we all get caught up in.
And then to go to the next step and ask to be shown, hey, maybe I can look at this a different way.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an entirely different way to look at, see, feel, perceive, create pictures of this moment's expansion of the creative flow that I'm blessed to be a part of.
Yeah, and that the only choice we ever really have outside of the world of our mind, it's either to choose the world that God created or choose the world that we've created, that we've made up. All the other choices that appear in the world we made up are basically meaningless because it's not
exactly.
even.
That's the point. That's the point, and it's also rooted in the Reality Management Worksheet. It's right there. I cancel my need to be right about my perception and everything, these attack thoughts that my perception is feeding me, and I ask to be shown something else from whatever source you want to call it, higher, more integrated, more wise, from whether you want to call it I'm asking God, I'm asking light, love, Holy Spirit, the unconscious, whatever you say, I'm asking to be shown. Well, if I already know, then there's nothing for me to ask and there's nothing for me to learn. So like the next couple lessons talk about, it's essential that I understand that I do not perceive my own best interests. And I can escape this world that I see by giving up these attack thoughts. Well, I can't give up the attack thoughts if I haven't identified them as such in the first place. And I won't have any motivation to give up those attack thoughts if I think they're protecting me.
Right. Now, because these thoughts, they just pop in, right? So honestly, I don't feel like I have control over them, which is why I think I like the idea of just like when they pop up, just to recognize that it's nothing. It's literally like it's just not to be taken seriously. It's not to be believed. It's literally it's like your mind is blank, like the Course was saying in a prior lesson, because it's not a real thought. And I don't need to catch, to attach to it in any way. I mean, I think that's more like me attaching or believing the thoughts seems like the way, because I don't know that I don't feel like I have control over them just like popping into my awareness. But I do have a choice of whether or not I'm going to believe that thought.
Exactly. It's not about working at controlling everything in the outside world or the inside world. It's about recognizing the truth of what's true and the false and what's false. And when I can't tap into the solution to that on my own, I simply ask. And we're given this, what we're told is that we're given this infallible guidance system, which is our emotional state. So if we have a negative emotional response, that's telling us absolutely 100% accurately we're in a false perception in that moment. And if we're willing to ask to be shown what a more accurate perception is, we can get it. We can be shown. But if we're holding on to our perception, and even in these 3 lessons, they're talking about hallucination, and it reminds me of the YouTube video we can go watch on Anil Seth, how our science tells us we are actively hallucinating our perception in each moment. We are not equipped in this mind-body unit with the ability to see life as it actually is through our body's eyes. And so when we awaken to the idea that everything that shows up in my mind is a best guess, and then we awaken to the concept that if I'm making a best guess and it's resulting in a negative emotional state, my guess is not very accurate. And so I can guess again, or I can ask to be shown again from a different perspective, one that is not coming directly from my conscious logical mind and all of that training and conditioning. And again, that's built into each and every worksheet. I cancel my need to be right. I cancel my need for anyone or anything else to change, including myself, and I ask to be shown the hidden part of my own mind that's actually creating this negative emotional state, this negative picture in my mind that had me decide to pick up a worksheet in the first place.
Yeah, and you cancel your goal, whatever your goal is, because you are not perceiving your own best interest.
Exactly.
And you can't see what your own best interest is until you cancel your goal and ask for help.
And if I do this practice enough, I'll probably find out that I'm holding 1, 2, 3, 5, or 17 different goals, and most of them are in conflict with each other. So if I got everything that I was saying I wanted, I'd still be miserable.
Yeah.
So, there you have it. It's an exercise. It's a practice period. It's an invitation to be shown an entirely different way to perceive my life and the flow of creation. And it's amazing what happens when I do that. It's amazing how productive those reality management worksheets are. It's amazing how much benefit I can get from doing the Course in Miracles exercises on a regular basis.
Yeah, and it's such a relief when you realize you don't have to change anything out there. Because it seems like that's so much effort and work, and what a relief that isn't necessary. In fact, it'll just get you more caught up in the dream, believing in it.
Exactly.
And that you don't have to rely on anyone else to do anything either. It's all up to you. That's such good news.
It is. It is. It's a little shocking to tap into in the beginning, but it is good news.
Sure.
So,
because
do you have another comment or question for us? Somebody else raised their hand.
Oh, no, go ahead.
13 minutes left.
I'm done. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, blessings. Thank you for the call. I'll turn on area code 760. You're in the air. Who do we have?
Hey, this is Ann in Florida. I
Hello,
finally found the time, or took the time, set my alarms to listen to you today in the beginning so I could catch on to the lessons that you were presenting. And thanks, Ellen, for your input. It's nice to hear somebody that's been working, the work. So my question out of this the whole conversation is, so as we cancel the goals, however many times we need to, sometimes they're hydras, right? So we keep going on and canceling as many, using as many wake-up sheets as we need to. Then those same thoughts from those issues that we were working on won't pop up, right? I like what she was saying about they just pop up, like they come out of nowhere. So if we do the wake-up sheets on what's resonating in us at that time, then they may pop up again, but maybe not as frequent, and then we just keep dealing with them, and then the pop-ups don't happen? Would that be?
Well, it's that's a potential that maybe the pop-ups don't happen. But even before the pop-ups stop happening, they happen, and I chuckle at them. They happen, and I see them as false. They have no negative impact on me because I'm not pouring my mental energy into believing them or trying to determine how I should take an action in response to them. So they lose their power over me.
Okay. That makes sense. Yes. Okay. I like that. That is very good.
One of the situations that Jeanie Ryce was in, she tells a story where she used to have this very powerful negative reaction if she ever imagined somebody was disrespecting her or not listening to her, especially if it was a man. And so she did a lot of worksheets on it, and she was leading her own support group. And then this one day, I don't know whether it was in a support group or in an intensive, she was in a group setting, and they took a break. And at the break, a young woman came up to her and said, very agitated, said, "Do you believe what that guy did to you?" And Jeanie said, I don't know what you're talking about. And the young woman said, "Well, this guy asked you a question, and you started to answer, and he turned and talked to somebody else, completely ignored you." And Jeanie Ryce was just shocked because she understood in that moment that if she had tuned into that behavior a year or two before, she would have been every bit as triggered, if not more triggered, than the young woman. But she realized this event still happened, and now here it is, she's having the thought that this guy disrespected her, and she's not making it mean anything negative about her. So the thought might come up, but the thought won't have a connection to resonate a deep emotional upset in me because I've dismantled the false belief that would generate that deep emotional upset. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. I remember her giving that example at one point. Yes. Okay. But now connecting it to this, that's perfect. Yeah. Okay. Yes, it does make sense. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the thoughts can come and go, and I see them as, energy field vibrations. I see them as, I take to heart one of my favorite bumper stickers, which is, "Don't believe everything you think."
Yeah.
Right. It's like the ripple of a wave on the ocean. It's a real thing. It's really there. I can see it. It's making that that leaf move, but I don't have to get upset by it. I don't have to change course of if I'm out in a boat because I see a ripple. I don't have to panic that I might get, capsized because I see a ripple on the ocean. The ripple on the ocean can still be there.
So that's what the work that we're doing, the forgiveness work, talks about. When each of us have our own experiences, the way we've grown up, or from parents or power persons or environment, we have those own personal experiences. So as we recognize those things that irritate us from that's how we change our perception, right?
Yeah, that's a part of that process, right? Right. That if my perception, and if you look at that Anil Seth video, he says when they track the inputs from various parts of the brain into a vision, an image that comes up, they realize that only about 20% of the input is coming from the visual, from the eyes, from the optic nerve. So when I have an image of this coffee mug and this iPad sitting on the desk in front of me, the vast majority of information that's formulating that picture in my head is coming from my past and my emotions and my associations with it, and only maybe 20% of it is coming from the visual input that's hitting the eyes, the light, rays and photons. Reflecting. Waves coming off of that object and hitting my optic nerve. So the things that are generating the pictures that show up in my mind are far more related to my past experience, my emotions, my traumas, my successes, my prides, my joys, than they are the actuality of the life unfolding in front of me.
Right. Okay. So I'm staring at these piles I have on my floor, right? It's very cluttered, very messy. And I can look at that differently, because that's not me, actually. So, okay. I can smile and chuckle at it now, because if I allow it to continue to upset me, then I get nowhere. Then I just resist.
But look at the process that you're creating when you say, if I allow it to upset me. Then Michael would say, do you see the denial? You've created this whole powerful mechanism from outside of you that's creating your emotions, instead of what this lesson is trying to tell us, the lesson for today about our attack thoughts.
Okay.
Right? When you create a negative thought, any kind of an attack thought, what you're seeing is a form of vengeance. When you look at that pile of stuff and you formulate a negative thought about yourself, that's a form of vengeance. That's an attack thought.
Oh, that's a great example. Okay, yeah, because it comes back on me, because I'm the only one that can deal with it.
Well, that's the vast majority of our attack thoughts are about ourselves anyway. That's why I was reading from the brain pickings. That's why I'm quoting other people like Michael Singer, who say, listen, we are so vicious towards ourselves that we would not tolerate anybody else talking to us the way we talk to or think about ourselves on a regular basis. That's all part of this lesson for today, that what I see is a form of vengeance. Attacking myself is the same as attacking somebody else.
Right, and I wouldn't want to do that, so here I am doing it to myself.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we create this. We create this. What this lesson says is a savage fantasy, and then we want to escape it without recognizing we're the ones that just created it, and it doesn't have any more validity than what we give to it.
True. Yes. I agree.
And so this lesson is encouraging us to recognize that I see only the perishable. I see nothing that will last. What I see is not real. And what I see is a form of vengeance. And then at the end of that practice period, ask, is this the world I really want to see? Do I really want to see a world in which I'm mercilessly attacking myself moment by moment, or in which I'm in danger and I never have the potential to measure up? Is that the world I really want to see? I don't need to answer that question. I just need to be willing to ask it.
Right. Yeah, I wrote that one down. The world, is this the world I really want to see? No, this is not the world I really want to see. I do. Okay. Yes. And I don't want to. And then is this the me I really want to see? If I'm attacking myself, of course.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, because what you see of
yourself
is part of the world. All right.
Yes.
Well, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. We're down to the last couple of minutes. So I will mute you and get ready for the transition. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Ellen, for your comments. I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeanie Ryce.
Thank you, Dr. Tim. And good question. Is this the world I want to see? I hope you have a good weekend.
All right, you too. Blessings.
Thanks. Blessings. So welcome to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. And today is Friday. The week has gone